Of course, Atlantis didn't actually exist, right? We all know that it is a storytelling device invented by Plato to demonstrate the moral superiority of Athens over the rest of the world. But what if?
Indulge me for a minute. I got captivated by the idea that there is some truth to the myth, and I set my mind on reconstructing Atlantis, or in other words, creating a living history impression based on Atlantis. Now, this might sound ludicrous because where would one even start, right? Well, duh, with Plato's dialogues, of course, more specifically the Critias. Here, the protagonist of the same name gives a detailed account to Socrates, Plato's teacher, about Atlantis. He got his information from a statesman called Solon, who in turn got the story from the ancient Egyptians. Now, for anyone serious about living history, there are two important questions to ask: the when and the where. So let's try and answer the first one first. Plato wrote the Critias in the mid-4th century BC, while the actual dialogue must have taken place a bit earlier, around 420 BC. Now, the source that is mentioned, Solon, lived around 600 BC, and Atlantis is dated to 9,000 years before his time. So that takes us to the mid-10th millennium BC, or just about 11,500 years ago. We are at the end of the Younger Dryas period, a period of significant environmental and societal change as the last ice age ended. Next, let's try and narrow down the geographical area for this impression. Plato mentions that Atlantis was situated beyond the Pillars of Heracles, which is the modern-day Strait of Gibraltar. And there's actually a theory that places Atlantis at a landmark called the Eye of the Sahara. And if you look at the shape and the location of this place, it matches pretty nicely with Plato's description. Now, regardless of the validity of these claims, there was actually a green Sahara period during the Younger Dryas. That means the Sahara wasn't a desert, but it was a fertile grassland with rivers, valleys, and seas. The perfect environment for the flourishing of a prehistoric society, if you ask me. There are also cave paintings to support this narrative and archaeological finds, which we will discuss later. Now to my method of reconstruction. I can't build the whole city of Atlantis, so I will just focus on some clothing and material culture. Now, a lot of the things described by Plato are not actually attested to in the Stone Age, like the use of metals or domesticated horses, for instance, but I will use historical alternatives where I can, and I really like a challenge. This might be a slippery slope because we don't know how advanced this hypothetical society might have been, but I really want to make it as plausible as possible. As you will see, we will have to broaden our horizon beyond the Younger Dryas into the Mesolithic and Neolithic time period, and also widen the geographical area in order to get enough sources for the reconstruction of our Atlantean character.
Before pants became a thing in the Bronze Age and the Iron Age, it is believed that most people wore loincloths. One of my sources for this reconstruction is Ötzi, who lived in the Alps during the early Bronze Age in around 3000 BC. He wore a loincloth made of many strips of leather sewed together. I stuck to the original measurements of 33 × 100 centimeters with a slight deviation in the materials used. It is usually said that in the Stone Age most clothing was made out of leather and fur. The oldest surviving garment made out of linen is the 5,000-year-old Tarkhan dress, which was found in Egypt. The oldest piece of woven fabric is from Egypt and dates to 7,000 years ago. One of the arguments for linen is the practicality over animal hides in the warm weather at the end of the last ice age. However, since organic materials don't usually survive for such a long period of time in most parts of the earth, we have to look for other indicators for its use, like imprints in clay of woven material that have been found in the context of the linear pottery culture in Neolithic Central Europe. I wanted some jewelry, and sticking with the theme of pre-dynastic Egypt, I found a necklace kept at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is made from unfired clay. After making about 40 beads, I strung them up on a linen thread, and I was done with my first impression of a historically based Atlantean outfit.
One of the strongest indicators to me for an early high point of civilization in prehistoric West Africa is the existence of pottery. There were shards found in Mali and in Ghana which date to about 9,500 and just before 9,400 BC respectively, which fits pretty nicely with the time frame that Plato provides for Atlantis.
While ceramics have been known in China since at least around 16,000 BC, it only reached the Near East and Europe in the Neolithic starting from around 6000 BC. When I visited Ghana, I saw that the ancient tradition of pottery making is still alive today, and so I commissioned an artisan to make a pot based on one of the oldest surviving pieces.
Obsidian was an important commodity during the Stone Age. This volcanic glass was shaped into ultra-sharp blades and exported far and wide. Again, one of the earliest centers of manufacture was in Africa, especially in the Rift Valley region of what is now Kenya. There, the manufacture of obsidian blades was refined over thousands of years, with the earliest evidence dating back all the way to the Middle Stone Age. Another important site later on was the Mediterranean island of Milos, which provided obsidian for many adjacent cultures from 12,000 years ago up until sometime during the Bronze Age. Africa, on the other hand, transitioned right into the Iron Age, with some regions using stone tools way into what we call the medieval period.
Vibration, energy, frequency. Vibration, energy, frequency. Vibration, energy, frequency. Vibration.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 2. I will continue making personal equipment of our Atlantean character, as well as exploring the interior design and architecture of Atlantis. So, subscribe for more.